Hello, welcome back to my channel. What if legend? What if Naruto had unique dojutsu part 2? The like goal for this video is 15. The sooner the like goal is completed, the sooner I will upload the next part for this what if. Disclaimer: I don't own Naruto nor this fanfic. Furthermore, I propose, Hayashi had to resist the urge to rub his temples in frustration. A frequent battle he had whenever a meeting of the clan elders was held. Several times a week at minimum. He looked to his twin, who gave him a well-hidden sympathetic glance. Kami above, he didn't know what he would do without his younger brother's advice and support. Hisashi, as far as the clan head was concerned, he was better suited for the role. But old dogmas and bad timing had robbed him of that chance. Hayashi turned his attention back to what the elder was saying. It was yet another attempt to carry out more oppressive acts against the branch house of the Hyuga clan. Luckily, he and some of the more sensible members of the elder council were quick to shoot it down. The elder sat back down, grumbling something about being too lenient with the branch family. Hayashi stood up to address the assembled council. Are there any other proposals that members of this esteemed council would like to bring forth? He asked, hoping to bring to a swift end the tiring meeting. He gazed around the chamber, seeing that none of the elders were going to say anything. Then, in that case, we shall call an end to this gathering of the Hyuga clan council, he announced, eager to be done the day's proceedings. Brother, the voice of Hisashi gained the attention of the council. Everyone looked to where he was sitting. Do you not have something you wish to announce to the council? He asked. Before the elders turned their heads to him, a small but brief smile had flashed across his lips. Their little plan was about to be put in motion. Thank you, dear brother, for reminding me. You have an announcement for us? One of the elders spoke. Why was this not brought to our attention sooner? It had little bearing on what this meeting of the council had on its agenda, he explained. It would have distracted us from the proceedings. As such, I thought it best to leave it be until the conclusion of the meeting. The elder nodded, accepting the explanation. Very well, what is it you wish to tell us? He asked. In 3 weeks, our clan heiress Hyuga Hinata and our clan ward Uzumaki Naruto will be attending the Shinobi Academy. The atmosphere of the chamber noticeably became colder. I can see why you would want our heiress to attend the academy, the elder said carefully. Despite her shortcomings, she is a capable heiress and would show the village the strength of the main house family as Neji has shown the strength of the branch house. That we can accept those shortcomings being that his daughter was considered to be too gentle and kind-hearted by several of the elders. However, Hayashi repressed a grimace at the man's tone. He knew that this would be the hardest part. Our young ward is another question. Are you certain he is ready? We can always let him continue his training here and enroll him in the final year of the academy. Even now, 2 years after the fact, some of the elders were still wary of Naruto. Not because they believed him to be the Kyuubi incarnate. That was a trapping that most of the civilian population fell into. Instead, they did not wish to deal with the stigma that came with housing the village pariah, though that position was in question now, as word that the supposed demon child had saved the Hyuga heiress suffering severe injuries in the process, a fact that seemed to be validated when the clan took him in. While there were still many who held the child in contempt, there were now many who held him in a different light. Despite their reservations, the elders had agreed to take Naruto in as a clan ward. It would be a great dishonor to the whole clan if they did not repay their debt to the boy. It didn't hurt Hayashi's case that once Naruto established a new clan of wielders of a new and powerful Kekkai Genkai, that clan would have close ties to the Hyuga clan. Politics, sometimes they were good for something. I am certain, Hayashi responded firmly. If he is to establish a new Uzumaki clan here Konoha as he wishes to do, then he will need the support of not just our clan but others as well. Ideally, the most prominent clans, such as the Uchiha, Aburame, Inuzuka, Akimoki, Yamanaka, and Nar clans. As it is known, the future heads of these clans will be attending the academy this year. While he is already acquainted with them, it is wise to have young Uzumaki deepen his relationships with them in the hopes that he will gain each of their clan's support. He explained to the elders, knowing that they would not be able to argue against his point. If his skills you are worried about, You need not be concerned. He has already demonstrated to be capable in his own right. I have no doubt he will hold a high ranking in his class for the duration of the academy. Yet another point they could not argue against. The tutors they assigned to him had quickly learned that the boy was eager to learn, absorbed much of what they said. It was hard to say how intelligent he truly was, as it was quickly discovered that Naruto did not learn things like most people. He was what is known as a kinesthetic learner, meaning that he learned more by doing than through a lecture. Once his learners had adjusted to his learning style, the boy was quick to flourish, proving that he was more intelligent than rumors had to lead most to believe. It should also be noted that he has kept an even pace with my son, Neji, in several sparring matches. Hisashi spoke up, a boy whom this very council has lauded as a prodigy of the Hyuga clan. Inwardly Hayashi was smiling like a fox. His brother had brought up a valid point that the elders couldn't dismiss. The elders looked to each, holding a silent conversation and consensus. Very well, Hayashi. One of them spoke, we will allow this, but we expect the two to hold a high ranking in their class and they not bring shame to the Hyuga clan, he said harshly. Smiling, Hayashi respectfully bowed to the elders. I thank this council for its wisdom. I assure you my daughter and our clan ward will bring nothing but glory to the Hyuga name, he said. We expect nothing less. Furthermore, on the morning of their first day in the academy, we wish to address them. The elder requested, demanded. Of course, Hayashi said, lifting himself. If there are no more questions, then I call this meeting to an end. He dismissed the elders. Once the last of the elders left the chamber, sliding the door shut behind them, did Hayashi allow a tired sight to escape. Dealing with the clan elders was always a tiring affair. A hand appeared in his line of vision. Looking up, he saw it was coming from Hisashi, giving him a knowing smile. Brother, you alright? He asks. I'm just tired, Hisashi, he said, taking his brother's hand and getting up. Tired? The younger twin queried, a mischievous glint in his eye. It is not even late in the day. A small smile graced Hayashi's lips. To paraphrase our young ward, dealing with old windbags does that to you, he said, receiving a small chuckle from his twin. Come, brother, I think it's time that we informed the children of the changes to their daily lives. Agreeing with his brother, Hayashi stepped alongside Hisashi. The two stepped out of the council chamber and entered the hallways of the main compound. Navigating their way through the compound, occasionally greeted by another Hyuga, the two brothers made their way to the Hyuga gardens in the center of the compound. Stepping out into the garden, Hayashi was greeted with a sight that always brought a genuine smile. Close to one of the pounds, two 7-year-olds were playing a game of ninja. One was a girl with dark blue hair and pupil-less lavender eyes, which distinguished her as a Hyuga, his daughter Hinata. The other was a boy with bright blonde hair that seemed to spike in every direction. On his cheeks were 3 birthmarks shaped like whiskers. His most distinguishing characteristic was that his eyes were covered by a dark orange blindfold. The ward of the Hyuga clan, Uzumaki Naruto, an energetic boy that brought life to wherever he went. Certainly, he made life in the Hyuga compound less dull. Contrary to what they were seeing, Hayashi knew the boy wasn't blind and could see them, albeit not with the eyes he was born with. The boy stopped in his tracks, turned to face the Hyuga twins, and waved at them before he resumed his game with Hinata. Close by, the two brothers could see another pair of figures watching the children play. One was a boy about a year older than them who was the spitting image of his father, Hisashi. A cold expression covered his face. Sitting on a bench behind him, her belly heavily swollen with child, was Hayashi's love and wife, Hitomi, a stunningly beautiful woman that appeared to be an adult version of Hinata. Her dark blue hair hung below her shoulders. Hayashi and his brother walked towards the watching pair. Noticing them approaching, the boy turned to face them and bowed. Hayashi-sama, Ate Ring-san. He greeted the men. Raise Neji, Hayashi said to the boy. There is no need to bow to me, and please just call me uncle. There are no elders here to reprimand you. Neji rose. That would not be appropriate, Hayashi-sama, he said coldly. The clan head wanted to shake his head in frustration. Ever since the Hyuga affair, as it became known as 2 years ago, Neji had changed from the friendly and gentle boy he was to a cold, unfeeling child who held a deep-seated grudge against the main house of the Hyuga clan, his daughter most of all. He knew why Neji became like this. The elders had not taken kindly to Hisashi's failure to protect Hinata. They had punished him severely and in front of his son, no less. Yet another reason for Hayashi to get rid of the elder council once he could. Giving up on the matter, Hayashi turned his gaze to Hitami, who was giving him a warm smile. He walked towards her and took her hand and placed a kiss on it. "My beautiful Hime," he greeted her. "How has your day been?" he asked, taking a seat next to her. "Judging by your appearance, I would say better than yours," she replied. "How the elders take the news?" she asked, an edge of worry in her voice. "Better than I had expected," he answered. "They did try to put up an objection to Naruto attending the academy so soon, but the points my brother and I brought up in his favor put an end to that." "That's good to hear," she said, looking back at the playing children. Hayashi's gaze followed her. His eyes settled on the blonde-haired boy. He was standing protectively over Hinata as though he was facing down a monster or villain that wanted to harm her. He deserves to be around kids his age, he heard his wife. To be able to make friends and have people he can rely on. Hinata, I think, would benefit from it too. That's right, with Hinata in the academy, the elders wouldn't be able to exert as much influence on her as they did now. While she was doing well to hold her position as the heiress to the clan, Naruto, think Kami above, was a big help in that regard. The elders were not entirely impressed with her and wanted to push her harder to excel. Hayashi believed in his daughter and knew she had the potential to become one of the best that the Hyuga had to offer. What she needed was time and patience to grow into her own. At the academy, she would have that chance. With Naruto at her side, she would blossom like a flower. Indeed, it will be good for them. I believe they might even thrive there, he said, expressing his thoughts. I only hope the elders won't pressure them any more than they already do, his wife said. He was about to answer when he saw her place her hand on her belly. HMPH. She winced. Are you all right, my dear? He asked her about to get up. The doctors did say that this would be about the time that she was due. What if her water had just broken? Was there a complication? He felt Hitami grab his arm and nudged him down. It's alright, Hayashi, she reassured him. The baby just kicked, is all. The little thing turning out to be something of a firecracker, she said jokingly. Hayashi calmed himself, knowing he had started to overreact again. Sorry dear. He apologized to his wife. He heard her chuckle under her breath. Honestly, I don't know who's more eager about the baby, me or you, she said, placing her hand on her stomach, a loving gaze centered on it. Now that I think about it, you were just like this when I had Hinata. She looked back to him, a nostalgic expression clear on her face. Between you and me, I think you were the happiest when she was born. The Hyuga patriarch hid a small blush at the memory. He remembers the surge of overwhelming emotions when he first saw his baby girl, tenfold when he held her in his arms. The overwhelming desire to protect her from all harm, to hold and cherish her. He remembered the tears that streamed down his cheeks and the way his father looked at him. On the surface was disapproval at the display of emotion, but underneath, he could see the man's care and understanding. He looked to where his daughter was and knew that those feelings were still as strong as ever. He looked back to his wife, his eyes locked onto her swollen stomach. He reached his hand out. Mind if I? He asked. He saw her nod. Go ahead. His hand landed on her lamp. Initially, he didn't feel anything. Then he felt something stir from behind the layers of skin and fat. A jolt of excitement raced through his being. His child boy or girl was indeed a lively one as he felt a kick. Hitami winced again. As I said, she's a little firecracker, she said. I can tell, Hayashi responded before his mind picked on what she said. She? He queried. Had she went ahead and had one of the doctors check? He saw her smile at him. Call it a mother's intuition. She places her hand over Hayashi's and remains content just to sit there and feel the movements of their future child. He didn't want to show his other concerns about Hitami's pregnancy. Hinata had gone swimmingly well, only showing the usual signs such as morning sickness and mood swings. This one had looked to be the same in the first few months, then somewhere in the second trimester, things had started to go wrong. At first, it seemed like she was just having a particularly bad case of morning sickness and fatigue, worrisome but not unheard of in some pregnancies. It's when those symptoms persisted much longer than they should have been when they began to worry that something was wrong. It culminated when she collapsed suddenly. She had been fortunate that a branch member had been close by to catch her. Otherwise, severe harm could come to her and the baby when she fell down the stairs leading to the compounds on the second floor. Since then, the doctors could not find anything wrong with her and the baby, no matter how they checked. Only for one reason or another, Hitomi was getting weaker as her pregnancy continued. There were times when she couldn't even get out of bed. There was growing concern that she may not survive childbirth. Even Hinata and Naruto started to show signs of worry. Sometimes he would catch Hinata sneak concerned glances at her mother and Naruto as well. Hitomi had told him that on days when she was feeling especially bad, she felt like someone was watching her. Before his worry was piqued, she had told him she didn't feel any maliciousness in the apparent unseen gaze, only a sense of worry. Hayashi made a mental note to discuss that with Naruto after the child had come. Seeing her here in the garden had both brought happiness to him and concerned him. At this point, she needed all the rest she could and conserve all her strength. In that case, he said, wanting to move away from his dark thoughts. How about we name our youngest daughter Hanabi when she does finally decide to come, he suggested as the name came to mind. He saw Hitomi purse her lips with her free hand, putting on a thinking expression. Hayaga Hanabi? She turned her head to Hayashi, flashing him a closed-eye smile. That is a nice ring to it, she said. Then he saw a somewhat mischievous glint in her pale eyes. What if I'm wrong and she turns out to be a he? She asked. Smiling back at his beloved and knowing the woman was trying to trip him up, he spoke. We'll still name him Hanabi. He answered he doubted it would come to that. Hitomi had predicted that Hinata would be a girl. Before the whole mess that was the Kyabai attack, she had guessed Naruto's gender as well. She even guessed what Neji would be. She was 3 for 3, and 4 probably wouldn't be different. Either way, he or she, they'll always be our little firecracker. He felt a strong kick in her stomach. HMPH. It seems the baby agrees with you, Hitomi said. Hayashi removed his hand gently from her stomach and wrapped his fingers around her free hand. Of course, she does, he whispered to her. And when she gets there, she'll be showered with all the love that she can handle. I imagine that Hinata is quite eager to have a little sister. He saw Hitomi's smile broaden. I think she'll make for a wonderful big sister. A small laugh could be heard from under her breath. Now that I think about Naruto-kun is rather eager about the baby too. You know how he is around the younger Hyaga children. Much to everyone's surprise, Naruto, the spontaneous and troublemaking child, was very good when handling younger children, showing a degree of patience and understanding that seemed uncharacteristic of the blonde. Then once one thought about it, it started to make sense. Naruto had been alone for the first 5 years of his life, and because of his status as the Jinchuriki of the Kyabai, most parents would pull away their children when he got too close. They still did sometimes on the occasions he was out of the compound. The orphanage, too, had isolated him from the other children, a fact that the Sandaime Hokage did not take kindly to. Last he heard, the former head caretaker had to leave Fire Country to find a job. Considering those facts, it made sense that the young Uzumaki would be eager to be around other kids and even learn how to handle those younger than him. Because of this, the boy treated the younger Hyaga children with great care, playing games of ninja with them or regaling them with fantastical tales. He would even turn a blind eye to whatever mischievous acts he caught them doing, more often joining them much to the elders' chagrin. Yes, Hyagas were not, in the words of one Tsuman Yuzuka, born with sticks up their asses. In their younger years were about as rambunctious and mischievous as most other children. Most of the younger Hyaga children had taken quite a liking to him and even some of the older ones as well. Thinking about that, it's not too hard imagining him acting like a doting older brother. Hitomi rambled on. I can already see our little girl calling him Oniya-chan. Kami above, the fit that the elders would have if they heard that. It was bad enough that he was acting as a negative influence on the future generations of Hyaga, but a possible heir to the position of clan head? They would not like that one bit. They already consider Hinata a lost cause in that regard. He knew that the elders were hoping to mold his second child in what they thought of as the ideal clan head. He wasn't about to let that happen while he did have the clan's future in its best interest. He wasn't about to let others dictate the path his children would take. From the moment Hinata was born, he decided that his children's future was theirs to determine. He is good with kids, isn't he? Hayashi commented, looking at the blonde in question as he seemed to animatedly talk to Hinata. She had a content smile as she listened. He is, he heard Hitomi answer. I can easily imagine him being a caring father in the future. I think Hinata will be quite pleased with that. It was no secret that their daughter had a crush on her blonde-haired savior, being apparent as early as a week after the kidnapping, when both had caught her shyly following the boy around the compound. Though to their amusement, the boy was unaware of the girl's feelings for him, often mistaking her intense blushes as her catching a fever and exasperated when he tried holding his hand out to her forehead. It wasn't hard to conclude that the boy had inherited his mother's denseness. Hayashi remembered why it took Kushina and Minato so long to hook up was because Kushina would always mistake Minato's advances as simple gestures of friendship or wouldn't register them. It took a straight-up love confession, and no, not one where he said, "I like you, please date me." His words had been word for word Uzumaki Kushina, "I am in love with you and want to marry you someday, so please, will you be my girlfriend?" That had been the first time he and Hitomi had seen the woman's face turn red as her hair without anger being involved. It took about 5 minutes before the Uzumaki woman could have coherent thought and a bit longer for her to realize what had happened. A week later, the two had been happily dating, and a year later, they were married. I just hope that it doesn't take him as long as his mother did, Hitomi commented dryly. I never did let that woman live it down. She giggled out. Hayashi felt a smile tug at the corners of his lips. At the very least, we won't have to worry about grandkids for a while, he responded. I may be eager for it, but I'm not ready to hear myself be called grandpa for at least another 2 or 3 decades. He heard his wife giggle some more. A beautiful sound to his ears. I wholeheartedly agree. These two need time to grow more as people before they're ready to be parents. Their childhood's already going to be cut short as it is with them going into the world of Shinobi, she said, her voice turning somber. It's best that any such thoughts be pushed back. Hayashi knew that his wife was worried about the children and shared in them. In the world of Shinobi, there was no such thing as innocence. It was a dark place that forced its denizens to take actions and see things that would haunt them in their sleep. It was a world of deceit, blood, and darkness that at times seemed to know no moral bounds. A part of him wants to keep Naruto and Hinata out of the Shinobi life. But he knew from the moment they had been born, they would be forced into that world. Hinata was the heiress of a clan that held a powerful and coveted Kekkai Genkai. Naruto was the son of one of the most powerful Shinobi in recent history and the Jinchuriki to the Kyabai no Kitsune, the strongest of the Biju. Without their knowledge or say, their fates had been decided. The two parents heard a soft grunt. They saw that Hisashi was standing close by. Neji was close behind him. If you don't mind me interrupting, he said, pointing to the playing children. But I believe it is time that we called Hinata-sama and Naruto-kun over, to tell them about the change in their daily schedules. Hayashi smiled inwardly, glad that his brother was taking their minds off such things. Their fates had been decided, but it did not mean that they still could not shape their futures in ways that would be to their liking. As an adult, it was his duty to see that the children would have the tools they needed to take the future into their own hands. You're quite right, brother, Hayashi responded. I think we delayed this long enough. He faced Hitomi. Time, would you do the honors? He asked her. He saw her give him a gentle smile. I would be honored, Hayashi-kun. Looking at the children again, for a brief moment, he thought he saw a glimpse of the future. An older Naruto looking so much like his father wearing a familiar set of robes and Hinata grown looking every bit like the beauty he knew she would be. They were close together shoulder to shoulder and gazing down at a bundle cradle in Hinata's arms. Both of their faces were ones of pure bliss. It was a serene image that brought untold joy to Hayashi's heart. Then just as quick, it was there, it was gone, and he could see the children were approaching them. Hayashi blinked, then shook his head to clear his mind. What was that? Had Kami seen fit to grant him a brief glimpse of the future? Or had it just been an odd trick of the light, something he had imagined? The memory of the image was quickly fading and already was too hazy to make out any details. He decided he was imagining things. Yet, he still felt an odd sense of hope. He knew that even if their road's own life took them down to some very dark places, they would have each other to hold on to, and when they reached the end of the road, a glimmering light would be waiting for them. The children reached them. Yes, Atozen and Kaisen, Hinata said. We have an announcement for you too. Several hours later at the academy, Hinata thought to herself, I wonder if the people there will be nice. Will the other kids be nice too? She wasn't surprised that she would be attending the academy this year. The rumors she heard around the compound said that the heirs to several major clans would be attending this year. It stood to reason that her clan would be compelled to enter her, if only as a gesture of obligation. She was entering for political reasons. At least that's how the elders viewed it. Looking at her father and mother as they talked to her and Naruto, even at her uncle Hisashi, she knew they had other reasons for the two to enter, reasons that were more benevolent aside from the need to showcase the power of the clan. Slap, thunk, thud. Her lavender eyes returned to the sparring match in front of her. She saw Naruto just barely shifting out of the way of an open palm aimed at his shoulder. Naruto's opponent Neji moved his other palm for another attack. This time Naruto blocked it with his arm, then moved his head out of the way of another palm strike. With his free hand, he aimed at Neji's chest. Neji was quick to react and flawlessly deflected the attack. Standing outside the training arena was an older Hyuga. He didn't have the caged bird seal on his forehead, indicating his status as a member of the main house. He was watching the match carefully. Occasionally she would see the man give a nod of approval. He was not the only one watching, though, or rather not the only thing watching the spare. Up in the air and around the training arena was a strange sight to outsiders, and truthfully some insiders. Inside the arena, hanging at a height that none of the combatants could reach, were several pairs of eyes. About 5 pairs to Hinata's, counting for a total of 10 eyes gazing at the spare. Though Hinata knew that there were more watching out of sight. This was Naruto's power, his Kekkai Genkai. He called it the Fudogen, meaning the levitating theft eye, a description that aptly describes its main ability. That was to still the eyes of others and allow Naruto to see through them. She had first learned of Naruto's new talent sometime after her return to the compound on the night of her kidnapping, a night she still had nightmares about from time to time. To say she was surprised, even a bit freaked out by the pair of floating eyes that hung around the boy responsible for saving her, would be an understatement. She quickly grew used to the sight even as more eyes were added to Naruto's collection. Even with the kind reassurances of Naruto, Hinata still blamed herself for that night. Had she not been so weak, Naruto would have never lost his true eyes, and her uncle would have not been punished so harshly. In another time in life, she might have let the consequences of her weakness drag her down. But thanks to Naruto's kind words and determination to grow stronger, and with the support of her father, mother, and uncle, she instead let it become a driving force for her to become stronger, to overcome her weakness so that those she cared about would never come to harm again. It wasn't easy going in sparring matches. She still found herself hesitating to take advantage of openings. The elders still thought that she was too soft-hearted to be clan heiress. To top it off, Neji would take whatever chance he had to belittle her efforts, claiming she could not defy her fate. He didn't used to like that. Before the kidnapping, he had a kind, gentle, even supportive of her. But after that night, he had become cold and at times hostile to her. He had developed a fatalistic view of the world that seemed almost impossible to break him of. She knew why he became like this. The elders had punished his father, her uncle, harshly. They did it right in front of Neji, too, as a lesson to him. Failure was not to be tolerated, especially when it could jeopardize the future of the clan. They had made her watch, too, claiming that it would serve to remind her of the branch family station in the clan. The sight of her uncle collapsing into a heap, convulsing with pain as his seal was activated, horrified her to no end and added to the nightmares she had on bad nights. Had it not been for her father's timely intervention when he caught wind of the disciplinary action the elders were taking, Neji's father might have died that day. Instead, he had been confined to bed recovery for over a week. Since then, Neji had changed, becoming the person he was today. It saddens her to know that he held her in such contempt and blamed her for his father's punishment, and to some degree, she agreed with him. She imagined that without Naruto, she would have taken her cousin's change in person and hostility towards her far more severely. That is enough, the Hyuga instructor said, taking the girl out of her thoughts. She glances back at the combatants. Both Naruto and Neji were face to face, arms extended out into an attack. But even from here, she could tell who the winner was. While Naruto had his palm to Neji's jaw, the former had his to the latter's chest about where his heart was. Had it been a real fight, while Neji might suffer a knockout blow, he would have dealt a fatal blow to his opponent. A Yaken-powered blow would have caused the heart to stop. Both fighters relaxed their stances and stepped away from each other, giving room to breathe. It was clear that both boys were worn from spare, sweat dripping from their faces, and splashing to the floor. Both were short of breath. However, Neji's breathing was heavier than Naruto's, a fact that his pride would never allow him to admit. Now bow before your opponent to show respect, the Hyuga man instructed. There was a moment where the two simply stared at each other, contempt and arrogance in the eyes of one and annoyance in the other. Then both boys did as the man said. They straightened their postures and bowed to show their respect to each other, non-existent as it was. Rise, the instructor said, walking to the boys. Hinata got up from her seat and made her way to Naruto. Now tell me, Neji-san, why did you have trouble gaining victory over Uzumaki-san? He asked the young prodigy. Even though your form was flawless as it is always, Hinata saw Neji bit back his initial response. It wasn't something that the instructor would have been able to notice. Even though my strikes were precise, Uzumaki-san has always proved to be a stubborn foe to put down. He is willing to take a hit if it means he can get an opening. This is compounded by the fact that he possesses a level of stamina and endurance that I am not accustomed to dealing with. The instructor nodded his head. That's right, Neji-san. Though you forgot to mention that Uzumaki-san's style of taijutsu is made to capitalize on his higher than average stamina and endurance. The Hyuga instructor explained. There will come a time and place in your career as a Konoha shinobi that you may come face to face with an opponent or opponents that are just as stubborn as Uzumaki-san. No offense. None took, Naruto commented, getting a small giggle from Hinata. As I was saying, the man resumed his lecture. In the same vein, those opponents may be shinobi that have been given a mission of such high importance that surrender, or retreat will not be an option to them. In that scenario, you must be ready to do what must be done to defeat them, including going for a killing strike when the opportunity presents itself. Hinata felt something drop in her stomach as the man mentioned the possibility of killing. It was a reality that Hinata knew she would have to accept if she was to become a strong kunoichi of the village. She saw Naruto shift uncomfortably. Even Neji showed signs of being disturbed by the subject. I will keep that in mind, he said, keeping his voice even, but Hinata could hear the unease. Strangely, it was a comfort to her to know that even Neji did not relish the idea of taking a life. It shows that the boy she once knew was still in there somewhere. The Hyuga man seemed to detect the children's unease at his advice and moved away from the subject. I would recommend that you find a way to improve your stamina and endurance that way. You can last longer in a fight. There are some exercises I can show you for that. Thank you, Sensei. I will consider your advice, Neji responded. The instructor nodded his head and turned to face Naruto. Now, Uzumaki, as you may have heard, you did well not to yield to your opponent and to wear them down. He began his praise. In the line of duty, you may find yourself in a situation where giving up is not an option. It may be a mission of great importance, or you may find yourself face to face against a foe who is determined to kill you with no means to escape. The latter was a frightening thought. Hinata did not like killing, but she liked the idea of someone else trying to kill her or Naruto even less. In some cases, you may even find yourself having to stay behind to distract a pursuing force long enough for your teammates to escape. If this had been a real-life fight to the death, while you may have been defeated, your comrades would be at a safe distance, and your opponent left in no condition to continue the pursuit. Hinata saw a small blush appear around Naruto's whiskered cheeks, something he was quick to hide with a toothy smile. Thanks, Sensei, he proclaimed proudly. Hinata smiled to herself, finding the blonde's hidden bashfulness to be cute. Then she felt her face become warm as she caught onto her thoughts. Did I just think that Naruto-kun was cute? She thought, embarrassed. She was glad that Naruto couldn't read minds. Otherwise, she may die of embarrassment. That said, the man continued, while you may find yourself in such scenarios more often than not, You won't. I would advise that if you ever come face to face against a foe who is vastly more powerful than you are or an insurmountable obstacle, that you find a means of retreat and withdraw. Naruto frowned at the suggestion. He never did like the idea of giving up. He was too stubborn at times. Hinata placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Started for a second, he turned his to face the shy girl. Behind him, she could see a pair of eyes gazing at her. She directed her attention at Naruto, his face showing surprise at her gesture. He's alright, Naruto-kun. Please say don't be reckless, she said to him, her checks lighting her stutters. She never liked that part of herself, even when Naruto told her it was okay, and he even found it cute. A statement that had induced a fainting spell in her and caused the boy to worry about her well-being for several minutes. Her mother still teased her about it to this day. She thought of it as another sign of her weakness. It seemed that the blonde-haired boy understood her worry as he nodded an okay at her. Early in his life as a ward to the Hyuga clan, it became clear that Hinata had a calming effect on the boy. He was still a very active child and had a stubborn streak a mile wide, but at least with her around, he would sit still long enough for him to think some things through. He faced the instructor again. All right, I'll think about it, he said. The Hyuga man shot Hinata an appreciative glance. That is good to hear. You show much determination, young Uzumaki-san. I believe that you will make for a fine shinobi of Konoha one day. The elders were wise to agree to Hayashi-sama's proposal to take you in as a ward of the clan. Naruto's smile returned. That because they know how totally awesome I am, he said with enthusiasm. The instructor gave Naruto a small smile. Perhaps, he responded. Now then, I noticed that were some odd changes to your taijutsu style. It seemed like you were trying to predict your opponent's next move and some limited success. He looked directly at one of the pairs of floating eyes. If I had to hazard a guess, you were trying to integrate the use of your Fudogen more into your fighting style, weren't you? Naruto scratched the back of his head as a pair of eyes floated down towards him. Yay, it was, he said. It was Hinata-chan's idea, he said, patting her back. Her blush intensified at the attention she was receiving. Well, I'm YUSC. She began, her stutter worsening. I was thinking since that Naruto can control several eyes at the same time and SCTTH through all of them at once. I thought maybe he could use that to his advantage by using them to surround his opponents and watch them from multiple angles, even ones that normally would not be possible. I thought that it might make it easier for him to predict how they would move. As she explained, her stutter had steadily diminished without her knowing. I also thought that he could keep some of them cloaked. A power that Naruto had discovered early on with his Fudogen was that they could turn invisible. She heard the Sandai mutter something about bending the light around them. She didn't understand it all as Naruto discussed it with the elderly Hokage. What she did get was that he could make it harder to see his eyes than they already were. Naruto had liked the idea of cloaking some of his eyes while fighting, if only to move them around unseen. He had also told her that he would only cloak them partially. He explained from experience that if he turned them completely invisible, they would see complete darkness, as no light would be reaching them. A partial cloaking would still enable them to receive light and thereby still see everything around them. It would just require a refined control over his Fudogen. I see, the Hyuga instructor said, rubbing his chin. That would make for a most interesting fighting style. It is no Sharingan, but your Fudogen, if trained properly, can provide you with a tool to analyze and predict the movements of your opponents. I would suggest that you look further into it. That said, your technique, while strong, still needs to be worked on. There were points in the spare that your opponent could have capitalized on had he been allowed to use the full extent of his abilities. I recommend 1 extra hour dedicated to katas to improve muscle memory. Naruto nodded at the man's suggestion. Now then, if you don't have any questions, he said, looking at the children, each giving a shake of their heads. Good, we are done here for today. I will be sending a report to Hayashi-sama of your training. I am certain that he will be pleased by all 3 of your progress. Dismissed. Bowing respectfully to the instructor, the 3 children left the dojo room, entering a hallway. Naruto was walking next to Hinata, a warm smile on his face. A few steps behind them was Neji, a blank stare on his face. Hinata knew, though, that there was contempt behind his eyes directed at her. Neji-san, Can't you see that I only want to help you? She thought to herself sadly. Naruto picked up on her depressed mood. Hinata-chan, you okay? She heard him ask. She looked at him, seeing that he was giving her a concerned expression. Even the eyes that were floating around him showed emotion. It was funny how a bunch of disembodied eyes could give off emotions. A part of her wondered if it was some trick of the mind. She smiled. Looking at her savior-turned-crush always seemed to calm her. She shoved aside her thoughts on Neji, knowing that there was nothing she could do about him for now. I'm alright, Naruto-kun. I'm just a little tired, she said. The boy looks at her questioningly for a few seconds. The worry melted away and was replaced with a bright smile. I guess that you do look a little tired. She knew that the boy was glaring daggers at Neji with one of his pair of eyes. The two had a difficult relationship almost the moment the two had met. Naruto didn't like how Neji's fatalistic attitude, thinking him to be an arrogant prick, as he often put it. Nor did he like how her cousin would belittle her. The boy was, to both her embarrassment and joy, highly protective of her. Still, did you see how awesome I was back there? I had that jerk on the ropes, he boasted, going into detail on the spare even though she was there to see most of it. Hinata always enjoyed the tales he would spin off about his daily activities, often exaggerating the details, making even the most mundane activity seem like an adventure fraught with excitement and danger. Uzumaki-san, I would advise that you not spread such fictional stories. They both heard Neji say coldly. Hinata and Naruto turned their heads to the older boy, the latter giving him an annoyed look, especially when Hinata-sama was present to see that I had won that spar. I was not on the ropes as you said I was. Oh, can it? Naruto retorted. They rounded a corner. Can't you get that stick shoved up your ass out for 5 seconds and enjoy the mood? Neji's cold exterior slipped as he glared at the blonde's insults. I still cannot see why the elders would continue to allow a foul-mouthed peasant like you to tread these halls. Your so-called Fudogan is nothing compared to the might of the Byakugan, the older boy taunted. And I can't see how an asshole like you is even remotely related to Hinata-chan, yet alone her cousin. Kami must have a twisted sense of humor to let that happen. Naruto shot back. TCH, one day you will pay for your arrogance. You will see that fate dictates all things and that it has decided you and Hinata are failures. He turned around, walked off. Before he turned around the corner, Naruto shouted, tell that to someone who can't make you sweet in a fight. He resumed his walk with a huff, placing his hands on the back of his head. Hinata close at his side. Seriously? How can some like that be related to you? He asked her. He is Uncle Hisashi's son, Hinata answered quietly. Are you sure that he didn't just find him in some ditch somewhere in the compound and took him in? Naruto said darkly. Naruto. Hinata chided the boy, getting a nervous laugh from him. Alright, fine, he said, dropping the matter. Still, I can't get how someone like him can be related to someone as kind and sweet as you are. Hinata blushed at the description Naruto used for her. He used to be a lot kinder. Hinata tried to explain as she pressed her fingers together, an old nervous habit. Before the incident, he was a nice and caring boy. But after what the elders did to Uncle Hisashi, he became like he is now. Please don't blame him. He's had a lot happen to him. She had explained this to him several times before whenever he became irritated with the older Hyuga boy. Still, it doesn't give him the right to be a jerk to you. Naruto huffed. But man, those old farts cause more trouble than they're worth. At least that much she can agree with. Can't your father get rid of them or something? Can't imagine many people would be against it. Hinata shook her head. As unfortunate as it was, the elders held a lot of power in the clan and held onto that power greedily. It's not that easy, Naruto-kun. He can't do whatever he likes just because he is the head of the clan. They came to a door. It should be, he said, opening the door. They stepped outside the main compound. The sky was turning dark with twilight as they walked. The air had begun to cool as well. But the elder council does exist for a reason, Hinata said, lowering her head to think. A part of her agreed with Naruto. The clan head should have the power to do what they wished unhindered by the prejudice of the elders. At the same time, though, she understood why the council existed to limit the power of the clan head. The idea was to prevent any future clan head from abusing their power and provide them with counsel on important matters. Hinata knew her father would never abuse his power as the leader of the Hyuga. and he was one of the wisest people she knew. But she knew that in the history of her clan, there had been clan heads that had abused their power and would have to lead the clan to ruin had it not been for the Elder Council. There was no denying that they had done good in the past. But today, though, the elders themselves had become a problem for the clan. Once, they may have been filled with the wisest of the clan who truly held the clan's best interest at heart. Now though, she couldn't help but see that the elders had become too set in their ways and tradition that was slowly tearing the Hyuga apart, branding the majority of their family with a seal that many would consider barbaric, treating those same family members like they were less than nothing simply because they had been born on the wrong side of their family or had been just a few moments later than their siblings, even going as far as to berate those who did not fully conform to their ideal version of what a Hyuga should be. It saddens her that the Council of Elders had lost their way, and they did not see it or refuse to see it. It was a problem that she would have to solve when she became the head of the clan. Assuming if they even let me, she thought darkly as memories of Whispering Elders surfaced. We will have to see to it that we have a firmer control over Hayashi's second child's life if we are to mold them into the clan head the Hyuga needs. Indeed, we do not need an heiress as weak she is. Once a second child has proven themselves to be the superior choice, I recommend that we have the girl branded at once. Hayashi will never allow any of his children to be branded by the caged bird seal. He most certainly will make a move to stop it, and there is no telling what he will do. I agree. Hayashi is a fool, but he has garnered much support from the branch family in recent years. Not to mention he has the Hokage's personal support. We will have to do something else with her. Something that will not raise a fuss from our wayward clan head. I believe I have an idea for that. It will involve using the memory ended as the elders suddenly stopped talking, seemingly to realize that there was a presence nearby. Hinata never gave them the chance to find her as she had quickly darted out of the hall and back to her room, shaken by what they were planning. She had never told anyone about what she heard. Not even Naruto, too afraid of what the elders would do if they ever found out what she knew. She couldn't allow them to do as they planned to her little sister, brother. She would not let them become a puppet. Naruto seemed to notice that the topic was troubling Hinata, so he changed the subject. So, Hinata, what do you think that the academy will be like? He asked as they rounded a building passing by a Hyuga couple who nodded at them. Hinata looked back to see that they were nearing their destination and back to Naruto smiling at him. While the boy was dense to her feelings towards him, he did have the uncanny ability to read her mood. It was nice to know that someone cared so much about her that they could understand her feelings. I think it will be great, she said. It will be nice to meet other kids our age. I hear our friends will be there as well. An expression of curiosity appeared on Naruto's face. Really? Shikamaru and Choji will be there too? And Kiba as well? Naruto asked. Does that mean I'll get to show Kibble Breath who's boss without getting into trouble with the airbags? Hinata giggled at Naruto's antics. She knew that Naruto had formed something of a heated rivalry with Inuzuka boy. The two would always get into one competition or another whenever they saw each other, sometimes earning the ire of the elders in the process. The two would vehemently deny it, but Hinata knew that the two shared a strong bond of friendship. Yes, they will all be there, including Kiba. So will Ino-chan. She saw Naruto's face light with joy with the news of his friends outside of the compound, then scrunch up in horror at the mention of Ino. Oh man, Miss Bossy Pants will be there too? He said, his face deflating, receiving another giggle from Hinata, this one being louder. Naruto, don't be like that, she said, getting a huff from the boy. She's not that bad. Naruto crossed his arms and pouting. Easy for you to say. She likes you better than me. The two looked at each other for a few seconds, then both began to laugh loudly. After a minute or two, the children caught their breath, and after a few moments, to calm themselves, Naruto spoke. But I guess it's alright. She may be bossy, but she's nice, Naruto said. Hinata nodded her agreement. Ino could be described as a rather hot-tempered girl, but at the end of the day, she stuck close to her friends. She had become a good friend to Hinata and was another source of encouragement. They came to a stop in front of one of the smaller buildings surrounding the main compound. It was the living area that Naruto had been given when he became a ward to the Hyuga clan. While smaller than the others in the district, it was still bigger than most civilians outside the compound. There was light on in one of the windows, meaning that Sara, Naruto's given caretaker, was home. Instead of entering the house, the two children opted to sit on the porch. "Do you think we'll make new friends at the academy?" Hinata asked. Even though she knew Naruto would be there at her side and her other friends would be there, she was still nervous. There would be many civilian children attending, and Hinata heard that clan children or even shinobi children usually didn't get along with them because of their different upbringing. Would the other kids make fun of her for her eyes? It was something that Hyuga children sometimes dealt with when they left the compound. How would they treat Naruto? Or even what would the teachers do? She'd seen the way the adults would look at him whenever they walked down the streets. Sometimes she'd hear hushed whispers, barely making out the words fox brat or demon child. It confused her to no end. Why would they treat Naruto like he was some kind of bad omen? Whenever she asked her father and mother about it, they would say that she should pay no mind to what others thought of Naruto and that she should continue treating him like she always does, like a friend. What she did know is that it had something to do with that strange chakra that enveloped him on that night 2 years ago. "It'll be fine," Naruto said to reassure her. "I'm sure lots of kids will want to be our friends. Even if they don't, we'll prove how awesome we are and change their minds," he said, standing up striking a pose. Hinata giggled, always happy to see her crush brimming with confidence. Sometimes it made her envious of how bold Naruto could be, wishing she had even half of his energy. "I guess you're right," she said. Naruto sat back down next to her. "Besides, we'll still have our other friends, and they'll be enough," he said. Hinata smiled, realizing he was right. They didn't have a lot of friends in their lives right now. Hinata leaned back, placing her hands behind her to support her, and gazed up at the darkening sky. "You're right, Naruto. We do have good friends, don't we?" She may not have the confidence she wanted or the skill she wished she had, but with the help of Naruto and the others, perhaps one day she would be the person she always wanted to be, a woman brimming with confidence and had the power and skill to shape her destiny. When that day finally happened, she would ask Naruto to help her change her clan for the better, to create a clan that was no longer divided in two but would be one that valued family above all else. She looked to Naruto, a small blush forming on her cheeks, and perhaps one day she would be able to ask him for something more. The two sat there chatting until the sun had fully set before they said their goodbyes. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe.